Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Martine, and if you are new here, I do videos on Vedic astrology mainly, but also with some tropical insights, and I focus on both relationship and natal astrology. And if you like this video and you would like to hear more content from me, please like, subscribe, hit the notifications bell to see when I will post a new video. And also, if you're interested in a personal consultation, I do consultations on a wide variety of topics. Please check out the video description. I will leave my contact information there. Thank you. So today's video is a video that has been promised several times, and I'm finally getting around to making it. It is about Moon conjunct Rahu and Moon conjunct Ketu in synastry. So that means between two separate natal charts. Okay, I'm mainly talking about this situation. I'm not talking about the composite chart. Okay, because that would be a little bit different, and I may make a separate video on that at some point in the future. Okay, so first of all, what is the moon in a natal chart? The moon stands for your emotions, your emotional needs, your sense of nurturing, how you want to be nurtured, how you nurture. It also represents your subconscious. It represents imagination, intuition, your habits, your sense of comfort, how you need to be comforted. Okay, it also rules the stomach anatomically. Okay, and it also rules like the body fluids, like lymph, for instance, the lymphatic system. Okay, Rahu stands for obsession. Okay, it stands for material desires, what we came into this world to experience more of. Okay, it represents areas that we haven't explored so much in previous reincarnations, so now we are very hungry, so to speak, in these areas where Rahu sits, because we have come to experience these things in this life. So it's part of our lessons that we have to learn. Okay, so basically Rahu to some extent shows an area where we constantly want more of that thing, especially on a material plane. It also represents to some extent, well, it represents many things, but here on an individual life's level, it represents detachment to some extent as well. So being rational, being a go-getter, that kind of an energy. Okay, Ketu, on the other hand, which is opposite Rahu, stands for your past life experiences, the sum of all your past life experiences, and therefore it represents what you know and what you are comfortable with. And it also represents detachment, because this is an area that you have already experienced through many reincarnations, and now you are basically having to move away from these things and move towards the Rahu direction. It also represents a dissipation of an energy. So again, depending on where it sits, what other planets it touches through aspect, those are going to be areas that you feel disinterested towards, or you kind of feel indifferent, like, you can't be bothered about them. Okay, so first of all, I'm gonna give you the traditional interpretations for the Moon conjunct Rahu and Moon conjunct Ketu, and then I'm gonna give you my take on it. Okay, so you can take whichever you want, okay? But I think it's important to show you both sides of the coin. And okay, so the traditional interpretation, having keeping in mind the definitions that I gave for Moon Rahu Ketu, traditional interpretation says that Moon conjunct Rahu is good when it's a woman's moon and a man's Rahu, but it's bad when it's a man's moon and a woman's Rahu. Moon conjunct Ketu, on the other hand, is bad. Well, it's bad either way, but it's especially bad when it's the woman's moon, when the woman is the moon and the man is the Ketu. Now, the interpretations for this, why are they given this way? Okay, so Moon conjunct Rahu being bad when it's the man's moon and the woman's Rahu. This is because, according to traditional gender roles, quote unquote, it is not desirable for the man to be emotional. And when you have moon conjunct Rahu in synastry, the person who is the moon will be increasingly more emotional and more emotionally attached as the relationship progresses. Now, you have to bear in mind that moon is not just emotions, like as in it doesn't just make this aspect doesn't just make a person emotionally attached. So it's not just in terms of affection, but it makes a person actually more emotional. Okay, so this means more sensitive, less able to be rational in situations of crisis, etc., so on and so forth. So this is why it is seen as undesirable to have it when it is a man's moon and the woman's Rahu. And not least of which, be among other reasons, another reason, a strong reason for this is because women will tend to not be attracted to these kinds of men. If a man is not rational, he's not in control of his emotions, he's not able to think from a cold, detached perspective, he will be perceived as weak or unreliable. So women don't find that as attractive according to traditional gender roles. Okay. On the other hand, when the woman is the moon, when the woman is the moon and the man is the Rahu, it is seen as positive because the more they are together, the longer they are together, the more emotional the woman becomes. So the more emotionally attached she becomes, the more she develops her moon qualities, which are seen as desirable, of course, with respect to traditional gender roles, right? So women will become more nurturing, more feminine, more emotional as well, so more sensitive, more whatever, all that, which is good if the woman wants to have children with the man in question. Like I mentioned it in a previous video that, for instance, Bill Gates and Melinda Gates had this aspect. I mean, Melinda Gates is the moon and Bill Gates is the Rahu. Okay. On the other hand, the moon conjunct Ketu is seen as negative when the woman is the moon for the same reasons, because Ketu represents dissipation over time. So if the woman is the moon and her moon is conjunct the man's Ketu, the longer they are together, the less emotional the woman becomes, right? So they may feel an initial attraction and an initial sense of deja vu and comfort, like this person, because most likely, the Ketu conjunction will show some kind of a past life connection. But most likely, with the moon involved, it's going to be more like a familial relation. So either this person was your mother, or you were their mother, or you were somehow in the same family, or this could be someone in your mother lineage, maybe 10 generations ago, that is reincarnated. Okay, so there's this kind of connection, okay, past life connection. But the longer the people are together, the lesser the moon energy will be for the woman. So starting out in the relationship, the woman may come across as very nurturing, very affectionate, emotional, motherly, whatever. But the longer they are together, the less emotional, the less of these qualities she will display. Okay. On the other way around, it's also not very good, because even if it's the man's moon and the woman's Ketu, is the same thing. So the longer they are together, the less emotional the man will become. Okay. So basically, think about it this way: with the Ketu, when you start a relationship, that is the highest that energy is going to be. So in this case, when you have like moon conjunct Ketu, emotions will be highest at the onset of a relationship, but they will go downhill from there. Okay. That's one way to look at it. On the other hand, with the moon conjunct Rahu, it's the opposite. So when on the onset of the relationship, the emotions will be the lowest, and they will keep going uphill. They will keep getting more and more emotional. Okay. Now, this is the traditional interpretation, more or less. Okay, now my interpretation is whether this is good or bad always depends on the situation in question. Okay, so it depends on everything that is happening in the synastry between these two people. Because let me give you an example. For instance, a woman might actually appreciate a man who is more emotional. So she might actually like to be in a relationship where she is the Rahu and the man is the moon. Okay? Especially if they maybe already have aspects in other aspects between their two charts or in the composite chart that show some tendency to arguments, or that already enforce maybe some traditional gender roles. So let's say she has her Rahu conjunct his moon, but she also has her moon conjunct his sun. You see what I'm saying? If on the other hand, now, and of course it also depends on the man and the woman in question. Some women these days really appreciate men who can take I wouldn't say necessarily a submissive role, but at least an equal role, so not all women are attracted to men who are like bossy and domineering. Actually, I would say a lot of women are not attracted to those kinds of women, those kinds of men. But yeah, those are the quote traditional gender roles, right? Where the man is the one who's rational and makes all the decisions, and the woman is like a follower. And if, on the other hand, a woman in her chart has a lot of masculine energy, she might actually be attracted to a man who has more feminine energy. So if a woman has, like, for instance, dominant Sun, Mars in her horoscope, she might actually feel drawn to men who are more Venus dominant, or moon dominant, for instance, right? So she may feel drawn to a man who seems more emotional. That's what I'm trying to point out. On the other hand, if you see a lot of aspects that show a kind of gender reversal, so like, let's say in the previous example, so she has her Rahu conjunct his moon, and then she also has her Mars conjunct his Venus, and then she also has her Sun conjunct his moon. She might actually end up feeling like she's the one wearing the pants in the relationship, and she might start to feel drained by the relationship, because she'll start to feel like, she's the one who has to do everything herself, and the man is too passive in the relationship, or too much waiting for her to take the initiative. You know what I'm saying? So it depends on the situation a lot, okay? Overall, I would say this is a kind of aspect that I cannot say 100% is either good or bad, okay? Really, it all depends on the situation. Sometimes it can be helpful, sometimes it can be really detrimental. Whichever the case is, you have to bear in mind that Moon conjunct Rahu tends to really increase emotionalism over time. A bad scenario, I've actually known this in a relationship that of a person that I know, and this person was telling me that she was actually very frustrated with her boyfriend, because so on the onset, she actually felt drawn to him because he was, comforting and nurturing, and he was really nice and attentive to her needs. And the more they were together, the more she became annoyed, because he became overly accommodating, to the point where, she had to make all the decisions. He started being hypersensitive, like he would start being moody, like, or sometimes another thing, and she also felt that this guy was manipulative, which is another thing that I should have mentioned. With the moon, you could also see people being manipulative, because the moon is a really feminine, indirect kind of energy. Okay, so Moon conjunct Rahu can also increase manipulative tactics on the part of the moon person. And these two people that I know about have Moon conjunct Rahu, had Moon conjunct Rahu in their synastry. Okay, so this is just an example of how it can go down, okay? And Moon conjunct Ketu, like I said, it tends to show a comfort zone, but it's not necessarily a positive thing. Because let's not forget that past life connections are not always good past life connections. You could have a past connection with someone that mistreated you in the past, or you mistreated them, and now you are back because you have some kind of a sense of a debt towards them. Okay, so there could also be some emotional heaviness there with Moon conjunct Ketu. But whichever the situation is, whether it was a good past life or bad past life connection, chances are that the longer you are together, the more emotionally detached you become. You know, especially the moon person will start to become emotionally detached generally. Okay, so this has been it. Once again, I hope you have liked it, and if you have, please like, subscribe, hit the notifications bell to see when I will post a new video, and also please comment in the comment section with any feedback that you want to add. And also, if you're interested in a personal consultation, I do consultations on a wide variety of topics. Please check out the video description. I will leave my contact information there. Thank you.